So today our topic is Trivista Idealease, and we're going to be discussing the many services and products that a customer can get through our lease and rental division. Hello guys, my name is Anita Massey, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Trivista Companies. Today we're going to be joined by Adam Buzzeo, Idealease Account Manager, and Sarah Jones, Idealease Rental Manager. Each of these guys are from our Trivista Youngstown, Ohio dealership. So thank you both for talking with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
Excellent. Glad to have you both. So I know there's been a lot of exciting things going on with Idealease, even with the softening of the rental market. I know Idealease has had a really strong year, and I wondered if one of you guys would want to talk about, the many awards that Idealease has received this past year.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually earned more than one award last year. We ended up bringing 11 awards home total between our different Trivista locations. We got to go down to Scottsdale, Arizona to the Princess Resort this summer. We won President's Club in 3 different categories for individual performance. Plus, we also won the One Idealease Award, which honors the different affiliates that adhere to the best practices and standards that are set forth by Idealease Corporate. So we were really lucky and successful this past year to accomplish all that as a team.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So 11 awards. We won, what, 10 last year?
Yes.
Great.
Yeah, the year before, so we won an additional one this year, one more than last year. So that was a great accomplishment.
Absolutely. Sarah, do you want to talk about just some of the individual categories?
Yes, so winning in the individual categories requires the commitment to a high level of performance for the entire year. So each month you're required to reach certain goals. And, if you have a bad month, that can definitely set you back. So it's important to keep those standards and practices up for the whole year. And in a similar fashion, the One Idealease Award requires commitment to teamwork. Everybody here on the Idealease team in all the locations, and that is based on our core values of expertise, responsiveness, and stability.
Okay, great. What about who were the President's Club winners? Adam, can you talk about that?
Yeah, so for the service manager here in Youngstown, that was Mike Rice. Chris Gibson and the team of Steve Rainbold and Jonathan Ham at our other location also got Service Manager President's Club awards this year. The Rental Manager awards went to my coworker Sarah Jones here, who did an excellent job in Youngstown. They also went to Christy Smith and Therese, respectively, who are no longer with Trivista, but they also did an excellent job while they were here for us and kind of set the tone moving forward into this year.
That's great. Sarah, what about the general manager honors? Who were those given to this year?
So the general manager awards were given to Darren Hills. He's our director here of Trivista Idealease, and Sam Powers, who is based in our Indiana, Kentucky region, however, is Darren's right-hand man. And I think as a team, we definitely would not be where we are without their guidance and expertise of Darren and Sam, as well as that all goes into the One Idealease Awards. And we had 3 different locations that were given the One Idealease Award, and that was our Altoona, Iowa location, here in our Youngstown, Ohio location, in our Louisville, Kentucky location.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, we do have some really strong leadership in Idealease, so it's not surprising to me that you guys are performing so well. And I do know the requirements in which to succeed in these categories are really stringent. So I know there's a rigorous scoring system that they base the grading factors on, related to our company's dedication to those 3 core values of Idealease: expertise, responsiveness, and stability. So I'm glad to see that you guys were so successful. And won some awards this year and topped last year. That's excellent. Why don't we talk a little bit about some of the different services that Idealease offers? And I thought maybe we could start with leasing. Would one of you guys want to explain some of the advantages of leasing versus buying?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I am the leasing account manager here. So this is what I spend most of my day doing. There's a lot of different advantages to leasing. What we always talk about the most and first to our customers is typically the fact that it's a fixed monthly cost. So excluding your mileage rate, you're going to know exactly how much a month, per year, and for the term of that truck that you're going to spend. There's not going to be any surprise maintenance expenses. If there is a breakdown, you're going to be covered. You're not going to have to come out of pocket for those repairs. Something else that goes into the fact that we're covering all the repairs and breakdowns is that we can build substitute trucks into the deal. So in the event that there is a breakdown that's going to take a significant amount of time to repair, and that would usually require you to have a truck off the road, missing loads, etc., we're going to be able to provide you with a sub truck at no additional cost. You don't have any residual risk over the term of the truck as opposed to buying one. That's all taken on by us at Idealease.
Now, what does that mean, though? A no residual risk? Can you talk? What does that mean to the consumer? I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah. So what a residual is a residual value of a truck is what we expect the market value of that truck to be at the end of the lease. Everybody knows as soon as you buy it's the same as a car. When you buy a car and drive it off the lot, it immediately depreciates by 12 to 20%, depending on the car. Mm-hmm. And if you hold on to that car for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, it's going to be worth substantially less than when you got it. And we absorb all that risk. So you don't need to worry about that depreciating asset sitting on your books throughout the term of the lease. We absorb all that risk for you.
Okay. Well, those are some pretty compelling reasons. I didn't know about that. What about the repairs? You mentioned repairs are covered. Does that mean that if something goes wrong with the truck during the lease term, that they just bring it back to one of our Trivista locations or any international dealership, right? And they can get it serviced or repaired?
Yeah, that's correct. So in the event that the truck breaks down or has any kind of recall associated with it, whatever might happen, we always like to see our own trucks back here at our home location in Youngstown. But if you're across the country in California or in Texas or wherever you might be, you can always go to any international dealer. One thing that leasing provides as well is priority service. So you won't have to wait as long as if you were a traditional ownership customer. We're going to get you priority service at any of our Idealease and international locations to try to minimize that wait time. And we do cover all of the repairs, excluding, any kind of driver abuse or accident damage. Obviously, that would fall on the insurance. But we cover A to Z with these trucks, and we get them serviced and fixed and turned around as fast as possible.
Yeah, and you say priority service, and that's possible because isn't it true that all of our dealerships have actual dedicated Idealease bays, right? That they only work on Idealease trucks?
Yes, any international dealer that has an Idealease affiliate within it has priority service available, and that's due to Idealease only technicians working on those trucks. So those technicians specialize in all the lease trucks. They know our customers, and that's all they do all day. So we're able to guarantee service a lot quicker than if we were having to rely on outside technicians.
Okay, yeah. That alone is a pretty compelling reason to me, I would think. What about the advantages of renting? What does that look like, Sarah? Can you talk about that?
So there's a couple big reasons that people use rental. One of them would be for peak times of your business. So if you have certain times of the year where your company is busier than others, and you don't want to have a lease unit or ownership unit that you're paying for monthly just sitting there not making any revenue, with rental you have the option to just rent a truck during that peak time, whether that may be every Tuesday you have 7 loads instead of 6, or once a month you're busier than the rest of the time, or even just for certain months of the year, whether that may be harvest or warmer times of the year when your business is busier, then you can rent because it is no commitment. So you can just have that truck for the time that is needed. And another big reason that people rely on rental is when your truck is down for repairs. If there is a large repair that needs done, you could be waiting on parts, or just the labor itself may take days to weeks, depending on what the repair is. And you don't want to not be making any revenue during that time. So a rental truck at no commitment again is a great option for that as well.
Okay, so so that means that they can literally come in and rent for just a day or two like you would a car.
Absolutely. You can rent it for a day, you can rent it for a week, you can rent it for a month, a year, whatever your needs require.
Okay, perfect. So it sounds like there's some real advantages to both leasing and renting. What about mobile service? I know we provide mobile service. What does that entail? Can one of you talk about that?
Yeah, so mobile service is a key component of a few different of our lease customers that we're able to utilize the mobile service for. Basically, the short version is we come to you. We're able to schedule in advance, whether it be a PM, things like that are scheduled preventable maintenance appointments. We're able to come to you, which limits downtime, things like that for the customer. We're able to come to you anytime during the day. It saves time and money, obviously. And our service truck is fully equipped. So even if it might be a little bit more in depth than a PM, let's say we have an issue with maybe a truck isn't starting or it's not building air or something like that, and the truck's stuck at the location. Instead of having to call and schedule a tow or transport and taking the time that takes, the resources that takes, and the money that takes, we're able to just send out our service truck with one of our Idealease technicians, and they're able to diagnose and hopefully fix that on the spot. Our service truck's fully equipped to handle a litany of different tasks, and we're usually able to utilize that pretty effectively.
Now, is this a service that we provide, Adam, in all of our Trivista locations? Do you know?
You know what, Anita? I believe all of the Trivista locations except for Kansas do have their own service truck available for their lease and rental customers for that matter.
Okay, and then if the customer needs to schedule that, is that done through the dealership? Is it done through what medium is that done through?
Yeah, that can either be done through, if it's a lease customer, which at 99% of the time it is, that can be done through me, the account manager. Typically, we like our customers to have a good relationship and good communication with our Idealease service manager, who is Mike Rice here. They can call and schedule through him, whatever works best for the customer. We have some different options as far as scheduling, but that can be done at any time.
Okay, so then now I want to ask, what is IdealNet? Because isn't that also a service where people can call in if they're having an issue with their truck? What exactly is IdealNet and how does it work?
Yeah, actually it is. So coincides with the mobile service in some ways. So IdealNet is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week breakdown line. So what that means is whether it is, 10 o'clock at night and where you are, nothing is open. If you are out of your area, so if you've leased a truck from the Ohio location, but yet you are on the other side of the country in California, whatever the circumstance may be, it's a 1-800 number that the driver can call and provide their truck number and what issues the driver's having. And there's a great team at Corporate Idealease that works this breakdown for you. So they will find either a mobile service truck where you are, or one that is open during the hours that you're calling, and route them to you and get you going again right there on the side of the road. Or they may route you into the closest international dealership that is an Idealease affiliate, And that kind of goes back to what Adam was saying earlier. And so if you're routed into an Idealease location somewhere else, you are going to get that priority service. And then the dispatch team there at IdealNet also does a great job at following up on the calls. So if opposed to you trying to call multiple vendors yourself and trying to find someone, they handle all that legwork for you. And they just tell you, here, you have a mobile service truck on the way, or we already have you scheduled at this dealership and they're waiting for you. So it's a great added addition to rental and lease versus ownership, where you're handling all of that yourself if you own the truck.
Right. And you said it was 24/7. So even if the dealership is closed, but they're stranded in the middle of the night, they can still get somebody to either come to help them or get them towed to the dealership for when they open the next day.
Absolutely. And they have multiple vendors that they work with all throughout the United States. So they have different companies for tires, glass, whatever the issue may be. And they will make sure that they get it handled as quick as possible, wherever you may be at and whatever time of the day it is.
Okay. And if let's say that happens and they tow you to the nearest dealership, and then they discover the next morning that this truck is going to need, a couple days worth of work, then that's where the replacement vehicle would come in, right? Would that still get routed through IdealNet, or how would that work?
So depending on where you are physically, if you're outside of your area, IdealNet will do the work on trying to find a substitute unit for you in that location. So again, if we use the example of leasing a truck from Ohio and you're broke down in California, repair is going to be 5 days. They will start with that local dealership that your truck is getting repaired at. And if they don't have a substitute, then they'll move to the next closest one. So they do a lot of the phone calls and emails back and forth that you would normally have to do as an owner. And they handle all that to get you back on the road as quick as possible.
Okay, great. So I'm curious about dedicated maintenance. I know we mentioned that, and we talk a little bit about that on our website, but can one of you guys explain a little more thoroughly what dedicated maintenance means from the Idealease perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So like Sarah mentioned earlier about renting being a gateway into leasing, which it absolutely is. We also love dedicated maintenance for that. Basically, dedicated maintenance is a fixed monthly cost for our customers every month that we put together a structured plan over the course of a term, whether that's 24, 36, 48 months. And what that allows for is the customer to have all of his preventative maintenance and things like that covered under a plan where he knows exactly how much that's going to cost. He knows when that's going to be due. He'll be able to have our team here between myself, Sarah, and Mike, or whatever location that it's through, schedule those periodic service appointments for him and let him know when they're due. So there's a couple things that go along with that the customers get to take advantage of as well, which, going back to priority service, that's also part of dedicated maintenance. And the customer also gets access to IdealNet, which is what Sarah just went over in a little bit more detail, which can be a really big addition for an ownership customer. Obviously, like Sarah touched on, that's not an option that ownership customers have. It's usually a lease or rental only option, and dedicated maintenance is a much more affordable monthly option that gives customers those same benefits that they're able to take advantage of.
Right. And so that means that's why whenever we do ultimately sell a leased truck, it's typically viewed at a higher value because it has had that dedicated maintenance applied to it, right? It's been regularly maintained, regularly looked at and monitored and repaired if needed. So people can buy with confidence that truck has been serviced at its maximum. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely one of the reasons that lease trucks tend to tend to have a higher value at the end. There's also the fact that the service records are diligently maintained and easily accessible. So there's a paper trail. So there's a couple different factors that go into that.
Right, right. Okay, so paper trail, that's a good one. Um, we do offer refrigerated trucks, right?
We do. We have those are available for lease or rent. Of course, depending on where you're located at and the time of year, it's already starting to get cold and winter has arrived here in Ohio. So they're not needed as much this time of the year. But for food products, things like that, we do offer them for lease and rent. Yes.
Yeah, I know there's a new business that was coming into town. Oh, I guess it was 2 summers ago, and their refrigeration units weren't going to be delivered in a timely manner, so they ended up renting a refrigerated unit from us for a couple weeks until those refrigerated units got installed in their restaurants. So something I had never thought about, but that's a good use for a refrigerated.
Yeah, I've actually rented those to different places, gas stations, places, grocery stores that were doing remodels as well. Something that I didn't think about till a couple years ago. But if you have hundreds of thousands of dollars in frozen or cold product and you're going to remodel your location, you can't just move that stuff outside.
Exactly.
You got to keep it cold, as well as, catering businesses, things like that. Last week was extremely busy for the refrigerated trucks here with Thanksgiving, Easter, holidays, Mother's Day, things like that. Places that are doing, they just have a regular walk-in refrigerator, but they're serving a lot more food during that time. So they'll rent one, keep it parked on their property, and it's like having a 26-foot refrigerator added for the week.
Yeah, I want one of those for my house, actually. That's pretty nice. Okay, so I don't know much about this, but I do know that we offer this service to our lease customers. So maybe one of you guys can talk about some of the details on how we help manage a fleet's legal and regulatory reporting. Is that something you guys can touch on a little bit?
Yeah, so that actually is all factored into a lease. When Adam is getting a customer signed up, we handle getting their license plates for them. Whether it's a base plate at your local area there or an IRP plate, which sometimes can be a pain in the butt to navigate those systems as an owner. So we handle the license plates. We make sure they're renewed on time, send everything to the customer each year. And we also handle fuel tax reporting on all of our units, rental and leasing. I don't know if you are familiar with fuel tax reporting, but that can be troublesome. And we have Corporate Idealease has a department, Fleet Services, that we lean on for all that. And we also keep all of our customers legal as far as just a few different states to mention that have their own taxes, highway use tax. So 2 examples are New York and Connecticut. There's some more throughout the country, but those states do require you to tell them each month or quarter, however it's set up, my truck went 300 miles in your state, and so now I owe you $30 or whatever the case may be. So we handle that part for all of our trucks that are leased or rented. So it's just less admin that the customers have to do or worry about, which gives you more time to focus on, your main moneymaker and which your company is has as a priority versus trying to keep all that paperwork straight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sounds like a lot of detail to keep up with and a lot of reporting, which I'm sure the owner doesn't want to have to do. Do those reports come out like every month or whatever the time period is? Do they come to you and then you just submit them automatically? It's all but done behind the scenes.
Yeah, so it varies a little bit depending on, if it's the regular IFTA or the state. Some are quarterly, some are monthly. The main thing that we ask from the customers is just for their fuel receipts for fuel tax reporting. And that's really all that the customer has to do is provide us the fuel receipts. And then we handle everything on the back end to make sure that the customers stay legal and that there is a paper trail in case of an audit, and report back to the customer if there is anything owed based on the states that they had traveled in or not.
Okay, got it. Thanks for explaining that a little more. Well, I know that Idealease is one of the most responsive and fully integrated transportation solutions provider in North America. And I appreciate you guys covering all of this information, because it sounds like, just based on the awards that we've won and just all the different services and capabilities that you've mentioned, it sounds like Trivista Companies is also one of the most customer-centric and aligned dealership groups in the Idealease network, I would say. So I think it's great that you guys are doing such a great job for our company and for Idealease as a whole. So we've kind of covered everything on my list that I wanted to talk about today. Is there anything that we've missed or that maybe I didn't bring up that you wanted to add or just, expound on a little bit more?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to touch on real quick. Obviously, times are a little bit tough right now for everybody, for, individuals, for businesses alike. The dollar isn't going quite as far as it used to. And one of the core things that all of our products, whether it be leasing, dedicated maintenance, renting, one of the things that all of those products do is it frees up cash flow for businesses, especially with leasing and dedicated maintenance. And what I mean by that is, as opposed to shelling out, some of these just day cab tractors can be $120,000, $140,000, $150,000. Instead of getting a loan or paying cash for an asset like that, you're able to get into the same equipment for a much lower initial cost. And businesses are able to do a lot of things with that money that they might not necessarily think of when they just think about doing a lease or things like that on a truck. Things like inventory, marketing, hiring. I mean, the list is endless what you can do with a few $100,000 if you have that available as a pool of money, as opposed to it going out towards an investment. So I just think that that's something that our industry and leasing, renting, that Idealease as a whole is really good at, and a benefit that might not get talked about enough is just the fact that we're able to free up that cash for businesses and things like that.
No, I agree with you 100%. And I think you're right. The timing for such a product is critical for a lot of companies. I know, just coming out of COVID, there's been a lot of strain and stress on lots of companies, and not just small companies, larger companies as well. Maybe some that you wouldn't have even expected to have cash flow issues, but cash is king, and it's always best to be able to hang on to it as much as you can when you can. So that was a very good point to end on. Well, I'm just going to say thank you both. I appreciate your time very much today, and I think you've given a lot of really good details and some good information just about the benefits and advantages to Idealease's lease and rental services. And I'm sure it's going to be very helpful to our customers.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy to be a part of it.
Great. Thank you, guys. So if anybody would like to learn more about Idealease, they can visit us on our website at trivistacompanies.com. And to experience this podcast and more, you can follow us on your favorite podcast app. See you next time.